Marion. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom to all of you here in the synagogue tonight. It's a really special Shabbat for us. I'm allowing people to arrive and greet each other. So let me say Shabbat Shalom to all of you
Recording
at home.
in progress.
We are about to begin service number 2 in Siddur Lev Chadash. So feel free to turn to page 76, ready. For all of us here in the sanctuary, we are very mindful that guests are arriving from Israel, from Chicago, all ready to celebrate Shmuel's bar mitzvah this weekend. So tonight is also the end of the week for us, of Refugee Week, and our synagogue feels particularly engaged with Refugee Week, not only with the work we've been privileged to do over the past few years of settling and helping those settle here in our borough of Barnet, refugees from Syria, now trying to support those from Afghanistan and also from Ukraine. But we're also so honored tonight to have Mrs. Janine Weber with us, who has become a dear friend of us in this synagogue. We have heard her story of her survival from the Holocaust. Our children, our Kabbalat Torah class, are moved incredibly to have met Janine and have involved her story into all that they are doing for their services next week. So we have an honored crowd tonight. Let us begin with Shalom Aleichem. Try and leave whatever has been difficult this week, even the news we've just heard, more of that later. So let us just come into the oasis of calm that is our Shabbat service.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hashem, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Olamim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Ohem Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei
just had a moment to settle into Shabbat, and now we are delighted to invite Shmuel, our bar mitzvah, along with his savta, Iris, to come and light Shabbat candles this evening. I invite us all to stand here in the sanctuary. Those of you at home, you don't have to stand, but get ready with your candles so we all light together. We are on page 75. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. So we're going to say the Shehechianu for over the Shabbat service tomorrow as we mark Shmuel coming of age in his congregation, the last of the 3 Wade boys to do so. So So we're going to go straight into Lachadodi. Lachadodi we offer sitting down. Let me tell you where to go for it. But the very last verse is an opportunity to stand up and to greet anyone who's late, but also that sense of enthusiastic welcoming of Shabbat. Page 91, Lachadodi. Standing for the Baruch Hu. Sit down as we go into the first blessing before the Shema. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv ha'aravim b'chokhmah potech sha'arim ובתבונה משנה עתים ומחליף את הזמנים ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו בורא יום ולילה גוללו מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור ומעביר יום ומביא לילה ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה אדוני צבאות שמו ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, תהייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
All this we hold to be true and sure. You alone, Eternal One, are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You have freed us from our oppressors and delivered us from tyrants. You have led us out of Egypt, forever to serve you in freedom. When we witnessed your power, we praised your name and gave thanks. Willingly we accepted your rule. Then, full of joy, we sang together.
And it has been said, the Eternal One delivered Jacob, redeemed us from the hand of one stronger than ourselves. We praise you, O God, Redeemer of Israel. And we offer our evening prayer, Shalom Bayit, of freedom or protection from famine and illness and distress, however fragile that is.
Ba
Baruch atah Adonai הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל יושבי תבל. Let's stand for the tefillah, the Amidah, the prayer that Shmuel will lead us in tomorrow morning, or letting him rest a bit tonight, as we open our mouths ready to pray together. Page 97. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, v'Konei Hakol, v'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע מגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריח השמש ומוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה המתים. קדוש אתה ונורא שמך, ואין לנו אלוה מבלעדיך. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. Let's sit down and sing Vashamru together, marking Shabbat.
Menorah
middle of page 100, hoping that us being here together brings some kind of fulfillment for all of us. Eternal God, be gracious to your people Israel. In your love, accept their prayers. May our worship now and always be acceptable in your sight. We praise you, O God, whom alone we worship in reverence. And then as we try to hone the best kavanah of our prayers, if we try to find something in our own lives we feel grateful, appreciative for, let's offer the words, Modim anachnu lach, she'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu le'olam va'ed. Tzur hayenu, magen yishenu, ata hu l'dor v'dor, nodeh lecha u'nsaper tehilatecha, al hayenu hamsurim biyadecha, v'al nishmotenu hapakudot lach, v'al nisecha shebachol yom imanu, v'al niflotecha v'tovotecha shebachol eit erev v'voker v'tzoharayim, Baruch ata Adonai, hatov shimcha, ulacha na'er, lahodot. Baruch ata Adonai oseh hashalom. So as we just pause for a moment for silent prayer and reflection, we have an opportunity to think about the world at large, the decisions made of late, what's happening in our country and beyond. I, along with many rabbis, are going into Shabbat tonight with great sadness about the decision made in the US, the overturning of Roe versus Wade, and how many of my colleagues in the States are fighting for reproductive justice as Jewish leaders and see it very much as part of their roles as rabbis and as observant and religious Jews. So whatever it is, whether there are moments of dissatisfaction, disappointment with the wider world around us, maybe your week has been a hard week, maybe there are things that have brought joy and pride in this week, as I'm sure all those related to Shmuel feel tonight. Let's just take a moment for our own reflection. So as is our mincha kamakom, our tradition here in our congregation, that our bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah will share their Devar Torah the night before. It's very helpful for them, but it's also very beautiful for you to be able to hear the illuminated words about this week's Torah portion by Shmuel this evening.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome to FPS. This has been my synagogue since I was born. I am happy to see family and friends here from Israel, America, and in England, and I know some of you are joining online. My big brothers had their B'nai Mitzvah here as well, and today is my turn. My Bar Mitzvah falls in the book of Numbers. My portion is Korach, which is all about rebellions. In my parashah, Korach, an Israelite, and his followers rebel against Moses and the tribe of Levi, who are the priests. Aviram, Korach's compatriot, leads one of the rebellions by gathering members of the tribe from Reuben and even some unhappy members of the tribe of Levi. This is because Aviram was accusing Moses of being elitist and that it was unfair that only Moses could speak to God. It seemed that this particular closeness of God and Moses bothered a lot of the Israelites. Korach claims that God is with and all around the community, and everyone should feel that. He accuses Moses of believing he is better than everyone else. Moses responds to this by falling on his face in prayer because he is worried about how angry God might be with them and wants to save them, therefore showing he's a pretty good guy. When Moses stands up, he challenges Korach to a sort of competition to see who God thinks is more holy. This is done by giving a sacrifice of incense to go outside the tent of meeting. At this event, Moses says that if these men die a natural death, meaning in old age and nothing to do with this competition, and God doesn't kill them, then Moses shouldn't be any longer their leader. It was pretty dramatic, but it got even more dramatic before anyone could respond. The earth opens up and literally devours the rebels. The message was very clear from God. But this act is actually taken the wrong way by the Israelites, as they believe Moses and Aaron have brought death upon the community. Obviously angered by this even more, God now goes one step further and sends a plague to kill off the remaining rebels. After this, God instructs Moses to take one rod from each tribe with the name of the tribe inscribed into it. He then was instructed to place these in the tent of meeting. God explains that the rod that sprouts flowers is the tribe that God has chosen. This is to stop the Israelites from complaining anymore. Moses placed the rod in the tent of meeting. The next day, Moses found the rod associated with the tribe of Levi, aka his tribe, had sprouted flowers and almonds, thus showing God had chosen them. I believe it's slightly unfair what God does to these so-called rebels who wanted equality across the congregation for everyone, and maybe was doing it for everyone's benefit. I'm there thinking that Korach and his followers weren't so bad, and I side with them. How they were killed for believing in free speech and the right to challenge is pretty shocking. The lesson I take from this story for me has been that people should have the right to stand up for what is right if you really believe in it and question authority. I like having God in this challenging story where I have to take a view that God doesn't come out of it well.
Pause. Allow people to respond to that statement.
We value democratic society, and I'm not sure if I see it happening here. Having a bar mitzvah is important for me because a lot of people in my family has done it. It's like carrying on tradition for me, and it means that I've got to spend time at my synagogue, and I even like Ivria are learning, and that the fact we're all sharing the journey of a B'nai Mitzvah. Today I'm reading from one of our synagogue's Torah scrolls that were stolen by the Nazis during the Second World War, and then rescued from the Czech Republic in Prague after the war. These scrolls had been left in a warehouse for several years, and then found and purchased by an English Jew, all 1,564 of them, and brought to London, where a museum was created of them at Westminster Synagogue. The scrolls required intensive repair after having been abandoned for so long. Some had even been left in damp rooms, which made the parchment rot. I am proud to be reading from a scroll that so many before me have read. It connects me further to my Jewish heritage and family from Europe. For my tzedakah project, which we all do here in our synagogue, I have decided to bake challah. I started 6 weeks ago by baking challah for Shabbat services in the synagogue. I made a commitment to do this for 6 weeks, and this Shabbat you get to taste my challah. I like cooking and baking, and this felt like a good way of using my skills for the community. Lastly, I'd like to thank my parents for helping me and motivating me to practice. John Rubenstein for teaching me all I needed to know leading up to this big day. I'd also like to thank Rabbi Rebecca and all the Ivriya teachers for helping me with Hebrew learning and about Judaism for the last 3 years. Thank you all so much.
Shabbat Shalom. Yeshua Koach.
So you can see we teach our children to think for themselves in this congregation. So come to hear more about rebellion, kosher rebellion, as Shmuel captures it. But for now, I'm going to ask us to stand. We move to Aleinu. I'm seeing you, Marion, in the congregation, whose son turns 20 this weekend, and who I'm sure we can remember his bar mitzvah portion 7 years ago, which will be the week after Shmuel's. So let us go to Aleinu, which you can find on page 520. Aleinu is considered to be one of the most religious of the prayers in our liturgy, untouched by the progressive hand. Why? Because the idea of a world to come that might be more religious, that might be more spiritually focused on building a better world, is what we all in the non-Orthodox world really believe is our responsibility, to leave the world better than that we found it. Tikkun olam, to be involved in acts of justice in our lives and not leave it to others who come after us.
Aleinu l'shabeach Adon hakol, laten geula liotzer bereshit, asher sam Elokeinu leyaked et shemo, v'mor aleinu le'omer malkuto, v'mor aleinu le'omer malkuto. אנחנו קוראים
Kaddish on page 524. And we think particularly of those here tonight in our congregation who are mourning and marking a death. We think particularly of Jacob Samuel Gabe, father of Ingrid Gabe, Zichrono Livracha. May his memory be for a blessing. And we think of those whose yahrzeits fall this Shabbat. Simone Baines, mother of Alan Baines. Ralph Cass, father of Carolyn Collins. Harry Cooper, father of Simon Cooper. Michael Dalton Ballas, brother of Charlotte Dalton Eldridge. And Dina Lazarus, daughter of Myrna Lazarus. Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. And may those who recall and remember their loved ones and miss them desperately on this yahrzeit, may they be comforted in their loss as we say the words of the Kaddish with them. Yitkada v'yitkadash shamei rabbah, bi'alma divrach yurtei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, Magala v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mavorach le'olam amel maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'a v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitada v'yitaleh v'talal shmei d'kudesha brichu. Leila mikol berchata v'shirata. Tushbahata v'nechemata. Da'amiram bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya. V'hayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael. V'imru amen. Ose shalom b'imromav. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'yakol Yisrael. V'yakol b'nei adam. V'imru amen. Let's sit down as we go to end the service with a blessing for each other, for our children, before we go to Kiddush. You can follow part of this on page 563. The melody, I was about to honour you. The melody, the melody that Dean wrote for his own son's bar mitzvah. So Shmuel, thinking of you tonight.
Yesimcha Elohim K'Ephraim V'Kim Menashe Yesimeh Elohim K'Sara V'Kara V'Leah Yevarecha
We'll do Kiddush where we are. So it looks like Zoe and Jan are bringing. Shmuel, if you want to help me, and if you persuade either of your brothers to come, or both, to come with you to say Hamotzi for us. And just as we're doing so, I missed a message that Caroline Sansoni is remembering an old friend from school, Michelle Sternberg, who died this week. Zichrona Livracha. May her memory be for a blessing. So with wine in your hand and with Shmuel's chalot, did you make them even for this week? Did you make them this week? Very impressive with your bar mitzvah and all that that entails. So, would you like wine, everyone? Thanks, Zoe. Dean, whenever you're ready.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzah banu, v'shabbat kodsho, v'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tehillah lemikra'e kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'chata, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, ve'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha'shabbat.
L'chaim. Okay, Shmuel, you want to whip off the cover? Maybe with Mikhail and Yonatan's help. You can hold the chalot.
Yeah, you do.
Off you go. You can do. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. If you want to pop it on the board, it may be being about to be whipped away and cut up. Thank you. Do you mind taking that? Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Just a reminder, if I may, with such a full synagogue, the next weekend is our Kabbalat Torah ceremony, and we will be honoring and hearing from our teenagers as they finish their 2 years of study, and that will be next Friday night. Be ready for sofas and alternative music in the service, alongside Shabbat morning, where we also are welcoming the rest of LJ as an open Shabbat on next Shabbat morning. So hopefully you will all join us for that. For now, move to the back. There's Kiddush. There is a Havurah supper after the service.
Recording stopped.
Speak to Zoe if you'd like to stay.
Shabbat Shalom.